Hey up everyone, welcome back to the Rugby League History channel. Tonight's video is going to be my round 9 review of the Parramatta Eels match against Newcastle. So, as I've said in the preview for the week, Newcastle, massive bogey team for Parramatta, and we ended up having to travel up to the McDonald Jones Stadium, or Marathon Stadium as I remember it being, and we beat them 10 points to 4 in front of about 6 or 7,000 fans. The first half, we opened the scoring very early on with Ryan Mattison, and it was 4-0 for most of the half. We made a few errors in attack. I counted about 3 or 4 sets in a row where we ran at the defence and we coughed the ball up on you can see the second or third tackle. And then towards the end of the first half, Newcastle got a dubious call through a late tackle by Wong Oblique, which wasn't a late tackle, on Keelan Ponga, and then Newcastle ended up scoring off the back of that. So it was 4-4 at the break. In the second half, it was most of the same from both sides. Both sides couldn't really sort of hold on the ball. And in the last 20 minutes, I think Parramatta kicked into another gear. And we got some good running meters through the forwards, and then the back started to kick in. And then we ended up getting I'd see it was a fair try disallowed to Reid Marnie. The player played the ball back to Marnie, and then they jumped over the player and the defence and scored a try. I've seen this try been given hundreds of times. For some reason tonight it wasn't. I felt that most of the calls throughout the game were going towards Newcastle's favour. I think they were getting all the 50-50 calls. And then towards the end of the match, there was a play where Clint Gutherson was hit high on the 5th tackle by Mitchell Pearce. And then the Newcastle players all fell asleep. Clint Gutherson tapped the ball, passed it to Micah Sivo and scored a try. And that proved to be the winning try of the match. And late in the second half of the game, Newcastle had a chance to tie the game up. But unfortunately for the Newcastle fans out there, Tex Hoy was offside. Now, I had a few debates with people after the game on Facebook. There were some Newcastle fans that thought that Tex Hoy was onside from the kick, but he clearly wasn't. So those people need to go to Specsavers, as a lot of people see, or people need to get their fucking heads checked out, because he was clearly in front of the kicker. Right towards the end of the game, Clint Gutherson once again put a kick through to Micah Sivo. Micah Sivo didn't get anywhere near it, and then he did a captain's challenge, which I don't think was necessary, because it put Parramatta under all sorts of pressure towards the end of the game. In the end, once again with the 50-50 calls for Newcastle, they found that Reid Marnie had blocked Keelan Ponga from maybe stopping Micah Sivo from scoring the try, so they gave Newcastle a penalty. So they gave him a minute to score a try, and they failed to do that. The match ended up finishing 10 points to 4. I think it wasn't the greatest game of rugby league. It wasn't the greatest game that Parramatta's played this year, but they got the job done. They were against the referee and Newcastle. Newcastle got all the 50-50 calls, and besides all that, Parramatta still come out on top. I thought that Ryan Mattison played quite well. Nathan Brown played very well. Clint Gutherson, Reid Marnie, Dylan Brown had some nice kicks. He had some nice composure. I thought Blake Ferguson and Micah Sivo played quite well. Jai Fields, I think maybe last week was a bit of a flash in the pan against North Queensland. I don't think that he was particularly good in this game. He did a lot of poor options on the 5th tackle, and he kind of looked a bit out of place out there. Also, it was the debut for Stefano Utoikamanu. It was the shortest debut, I think, in rugby league history. It was only out there for 10 seconds. He literally went out there in the last minute of play. He grabbed the ball in the last play of the game, running up, had a hit up, and then that was the end of the game. And then after that, he went over and hugged some of his family members and some other people in the crowd. He's got in a bit of trouble for that. Another thing I'll touch on is, look, I don't watch Newcastle games. I fucking can't stand the cunts. I fucking hate them. But with Keelan Ponga, I just noticed, like I don't watch any of the other Newcastle games. I can't fucking stand them, like. But with fucking Keelan Ponga, every time we got near him, or every time it was a 50-50, Newcastle got a penalty. It was like Keelan Ponga was kind of a protected species. He couldn't be touched. In the first half, there was the penalty which led to the try, where Wonga Blake, there was no way in the world he could have pulled out of that tackle. So Keelan Ponga gets hit, and they see, oh, it's a fucking late shot and all that keeper. Penalty Newcastle. And then there was, in the second half, Keelan Ponga goes leaping for the ball. It was the fifth tackle. He goes leaping for the ball. He totally misses it. He lands on his head and he's down the ground. And then the referee goes penalty Newcastle. And I'm going, what the fuck? He didn't even fucking touch him. And then there was another set of six when Keelan Ponga run the ball up. He slipped over. Wonga Blake hit him. And then they went penalty Newcastle, and I'm going, but he fell into the tackle. It's not a high shot, it's not a fucking penalty. And I just kind of got the feeling that whenever Keelan Ponga got the ball, if it was a 50-50 and he got hit in a bad tackle, that they'd see, sorry, penalty Newcastle. And I think Newcastle got most of the 50-50s throughout the night. So I was dead pleased with Parramatta getting the win tonight over Newcastle. Our biggest bogey team. As I said, it wasn't the greatest performance, but we got the job done. Now we're top of the table once again. Next week we play against Manly. Should be a very interesting game because Manly's in a bit of a hole at the moment, but this is a derby game, a rivalry match, so form goes out the window. Maybe Manly might show up for this match, we don't know, it remains to be seen. But I'm dead pleased with Parramatta at the moment. Even when they're not playing their best, they still find a way to win. That's my review of the round 9 match against Newcastle Knights. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, click that like button so you get to see more of my videos in the future. Click that subscribe button so you subscribe to the channel. Click that notification bell so you get an email when I do a new video. I'll be doing another video in the next couple of days, so stay tuned for that. But as always, everyone, look after yourselves, take care, and I'll catch you all later. Ta-ra.